First Peter chapter 4 and verse 7. But the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone, who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations to the Akim her pushing his gospel in truth and in sincerity. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord, will lift up on your houses. So Brother Quanah Watts from the Arizona Great Millstone Camp come back at you, Lord will, with the edifying lesson through his spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Lord will, it is edifying. Lord will, it is straight to the point. This place is over and done with, man. Fuck this place, man. This place is over. And we see it. You know, as it said right here, it says, and watch, right, unto prayer, right? We're supposed to be watching and praying, right? Those two things, right? Especially prayer. You know, Elder Apostle Rakar, you know, and brothers reiterate this many times, you know, the Elder Apostle Rakar has a saying, right? Keep your medicine strong, you know, which is ultimately means to, hey, pray, you know? You know, and part of our prayers is what? Throwing up curses on this place that the Lord ultimately bring this bitch down. And see, we're seeing it, right? We're seeing it now this year, 2025. We're seeing it happen a hell of a lot more than we had seen it in the previous years, man. You know, that this whole wicked regime, this wicked rule is being brought down, you know, starting with, you know, the collapse of the American society, of the American, you know, economy, right? And I actually have a video I want to play, right? Just touching on these tariffs, man, which is these tariffs, which I guess they're placing more tariffs beginning the 5th, right? Which is Saturday. They're placing more tariffs on, you know, different countries, right? A list of 60 plus countries that Trump is going to be throwing tariffs on, you know, and it's and that's just going to bring forth more, you know, economic pressure, right, on the consumers here in America, man, right? Which they're already facing that pressure. They're already facing, you know, that you know, inflation. You know, people are stressed out at an all-time high. Car repossessions at an all-time high. Credit card debt is at an all-time high. Right? These people are already feeling that pressure. And see, within the next few weeks, right, that pressure is only going to double. It's going to triple. Right? But I want to show this video again before I get into this video. It's from Reuters. This is fair use. It's not my video. Not playing this video for any kind of monetary gain. Again, this fair use. So without further ado, here we go.
How much will your new sneakers cost you? Well, after President Trump's announcement on tariffs, the share prices of Nike, Adidas and Puma all plunged. And it's no surprise why. A lot of the products that they make are made in Asian countries that were particularly hard hit by these new tariffs. China's tariff was hiked up to...
Let me pause it right there. It goes way past, you know, just shoes, right? This is just, you know, a little, you know, where you can a display, so to speak, right, to give you an understanding of, you know, how it's going to affect you, right? Even your clothing is going to be more expensive, man, right? But it goes way past just your clothing, man. You know, I work in the, you know, construction field, you know, and a lot of, you know, our products, right, come from China, come from Mexico, come from Canada, you know, come from India, right? And a lot of these places, you know, Trump is placing, you know, tariffs on and then raising those tariffs that were already placed on them, right? Basically doubling and tripling the tariffs that were already placed, you know? So prices across the board from every industry is going to skyrocket, you know? Without further, I'll continue the video.
54%, Indonesia got slapped with a 32% levy, and Vietnam 46%. Prior to President Trump's announcement, the estimated average levy on footwear coming from Vietnam...
Hey, and that was the spirit, man. We're talking about tariffs, and it says right here at the top, right, it says headlines, China threatens retaliation after Trump hits it with highest U.S. tariff on any country, right? And again, I just mentioned, right, a lot of our, oil and whatnot and shit like that, comes from Canada. A lot of our products come from Canada. You even had, Canada, ultimately started pulling American, hey, it's 144, call you, or 1044, call you, but, it's like I just kind of seen that, looked away for a minute. But, yeah, man, they started to pull off, American, liquor off their shelves, right? Affecting American business, This is only going to affect Americans, man, drastically. These other nations can go to other nations to, get their goods and this and the third. It might not, again, America being, the number one place, right, where all these nations mainly get their money, right, because they're in bed with America, and America is an import country rather than an export country. America imports a lot of goods, right, and doesn't necessarily have too many goods that it does export, so a lot of these nations get their money from America, But see, America is trying to play this game, and these nations, they don't really care no more, man. They don't give a shit about America, It says, on the next one down, it says, Canada to counter unjustified U.S. tariffs with 25% taxes on U.S. cars, says Carney, right? So you got these nations, China, Canada, right? We're placing counter-terrorists on America, man. Meaning not only do we have to deal with the tariffs that are placed on these countries, now we got to deal with the tariffs that are placed on America, right? So it's the tariffs that America's placing is going to double the inflation, but see, the tariffs that these nations place on America is going to triple and quadruple that that inflation, right? We'll finish this out.
13.6%. Now, Adidas makes around 39% of all its footwear in Vietnam, and Nike makes 50%. And they're not alone with their reliance on Vietnam. Up-and-coming running brand On sources 90% of its footwear from the country. But will we end up paying more? Well, since 2019, the price of a pair of new sneakers has actually risen by around 25%. And analysts at UBS think that the levies on Vietnam alone will see price rises of between 10 to 12% across the whole sector. They say this because they don't think that companies will be able to fully offset the cost of tariffs. How much will your new sneakers cost you?
Right, so there you go. There you have it, man. Right? Prices are only going to continue to increase. And, really, what are you people, going to do, right, when prices do increase, right? Because it's not about if they do, it's about when they do, right? What are you people going to do, man? Right? How are you people going to react? What solutions do you have, right? And the average person doesn't have a solution, and the elder, his YouTube page is GMS Dedication, right? The elder did a beautiful collage of different videos the other day, right? Going in on, I think the title was either The American Struggle, right? Part 9 or PT9, right? Part 9. And it was just a whole bunch of different videos of all these different fucking people making videos about how they're stressed out. They can't pay their bills. You know what I mean? They got more than just the average bills now. You know what I mean? Because you got different social media sites. You got different, things you got to pay for, man. Right? Netflix and all these other shit you got to pay for, which makes life harder. And life is not getting any easier. It's not getting any less expensive. It's actually getting more expensive to live, and you had a lot of people title videos, I can't afford 2025, or I can't afford to live anymore. I can't afford this, that, and the third. This place is fucked, man. These people are fucked. And see, again, I mentioned in the video I did yesterday going in on the elders video that a lot of these people are going to riot because of the state in which they have to live, which, let me grab that in Job chapter 20 and verse 22. It says in the very top, it says, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits Every hand of the wicked shall come upon it. Now, I've gone to this word and, beginning with the elder apostles on down, right? We've gone into this word many times. But we're going to do it again, right? Strong's H 6001. Amal, meaning laborer, right? Workmen, right? It says toiling. Those that are out here working and laboring and out here on the daily, right? You can hear in the background the little beeping back there, man. You got dudes on forklifts and this, that, and the third at this job site. You know what I mean? You got a lot of people on, making this and building these buildings and what. All these are laborers, man. All these people have to deal with this shit that this government is ultimately doing. A lot of people are upset at what Trump's doing. A lot of Trump supporters, right, those that voted for him, right, they're pissed the fuck off. They're pissed the fuck off, man. And again, it's only the decisions that Trump and his administration are making, man, are only going to get dumber and dumber, and it's going to make the situation worse and worse for the American people, right? To the point where they're going to riot, to the point where they're going to, say fuck it, right? We already have in multiple places all over the world. We got multiple people. I think it was in Belgrade, right? You had almost 1 million, if not 1 million plus people protesting against the government, against their own government. And see, this is exactly what's going to take place across the world, right? 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter, where these people are going to say, fuck it, man, right? Because prices are going to get too high. You have thousands upon thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands of jobs every single year have been lost. Companies going down, closing up shop. Hundreds of thousands of jobs every single year are going to be lost, right? And I want to grab this precept in 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter, because this is where we're looking down the pipe at, right? 2nd Esdras 15 and verse 16, it says, for there shall be sedition among men, right? Sedition, right? It says, in invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and their course of their actions shall stand in their power. Let's look up that word sedition, right? Sedition. It says rebellion, uprising, revolt. These are what the people are ultimately going to be doing, right? Because of the state in which the world is in currently, right? Again, here in America, man, especially these people out here, these people love their luxuries and being able to live that American, lifestyle. That shit's being taken away from them, man. And we know that the average American patriot, man, they get pissed off when their freedoms start getting taken, man. But that grip, man, that grip is squeezing and it's squeezing and it's squeezing. And soon we are going to see uprisings. Soon we are going to see revolts. But see, this is what they want, right? Order ab chaos, order out of chaos, right? We're just waiting for this moment to ultimately spiral out of hand, which Lord will happen soon, right? When these tariffs hit, man, the grip is only getting fucking tighter, man. Shit's about to hit the fan, man. Real shit. This place is about to be a fucking, like the Wild West, man. It's about to get real bad out of here. It says, dropping down, it says, attempt to overthrow civil authorities, right? Violent strife between factions, civil or religious disorder, riot, rebelliousness against authority. They're going to say, fuck this shit, man. And again, that's in the scriptures. Regarding not, it says, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. I mean, they're not going to give a fuck who sees, right? And we saw a glimpse of that, right, when it came to, those smash and grabs that happened in California, right? These luxury shops, like they were breaking in, and you had the officers there, this and the third. They were running right past them. They didn't give a shit. They were running up in there, face mask, fully black, running in there, smashing and grabbing, and didn't give a fuck who was around them. See, that was on such a minuscule scale because that was dealing with something that wasn't a necessity, right? Bags and clothes and shoes and this and the third. Like, they already had shoes. They had shoes on their feet when they were running up in there. So they didn't need those shoes. They didn't need those clothes, those bags, right? How much more, right? And how much worse is it going to be, right, when it's actual necessities, food, water, you know? All those different things. Like, how much more is that? How worse is it going to be? And it's going to be a whole hell of a lot worse. Because as these businesses go down, right, especially when it comes to, you know, warehouse or trucking or food processing plants or anything like that, that's going to cause what? A food shortage. Right? No food coming into these stores, and they only stock about 2 to 3, days worth of food. You know, prices are going to skyrocket, right? Because, when something becomes, harder to attain, right, the value goes up. Right? When something is in abundance, the value goes down. So the fact that their food is becoming more and more scarce, prices are going more and more up. Right? Jobs are being lost. And the grip is getting tighter on the American people. What do you think is going to fucking happen, man? These tariffs that are about to hit are going to fucking raise prices to a whole new level prices never seen before. Right? Which is prophesied in Revelation 6th chapter, right? That measure of wheat for a penny. Right? Let's talk about hyperinflation. But I'll keep reading. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Which this is all leading into Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation, right? As the scriptures call it, right? Verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation, man. And we're coming into these times, right? Especially with tariffs. This is the whole plan, So bring on these tariffs, man. Bring on the inflation. Bring on the hyperinflation. Bring on the hard grip, right? Because that's only leading into the furtherance of prophecy. We're at the end of this fucking world, man. Call Lord Yahweh Shem Shah, man. We're at the end of this fucking place. You know what I mean? Just a couple more steps, man, and Lord will we be of the elect. Hey, we're gonna see the establishment of a righteous rulership, man. Right? We're already starting to see it now, but I'm talking about the full-fledged, utter removal of wickedness and establishment of a righteous rulership, man. But that was just, I just want to hit the button, man, kind of go into it, man, before I get back into this, at this plantation, man. So Lord will is edifying, Lord will straight to the point. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rechak Wadash, that belongs to the elder apostles, elder bishops, the great millstone. Till next time I say shalom.